syrup. Maple syrup. Poutine.
I'm doing that on the inside right now. Oil. Oil is a commodity. People want oil. No one gives a damn about maple syrup outside of Canada. Okay. Okay. What else? What else is valuable that you think Canadians produce?
Canada.
Oil, gas, fossil fuels.
Running water.
There's gonna be a lot of lines at practice.
Yeah, like fresh water. Lots of fresh water.
Hey, fresh water, yeah. I know you guys just threw that Hail Mary out there, but we sell fresh water, like bottled water, spring water. Okay, that's something that we produce in Canada.
Like hydrocarbons.
What?
Okay, here, let me help you out, right? They don't teach this on TikTok. You won't see this on TikTok. We have forests, so we sell
Wood.
What?
lumber.
Yeah.
Paper.
Okay,
Okay.
paper perhaps. Canadian dairy. Donald Trump went on a rant with NAFTA about Canadian dairy,
Milk
right?
and bacon.
Beef. We sell a lot of like when you go out into the country or when you drive home, you probably see farmer fields. They're growing food, they're growing products, right? We sell that. Wheat is another one, right? The prairies, that's all they do. They just grow wheat. Wheat. Canola, right? You turn that into an oil, right?
I guess like in the BC areas you can sell like fruit and stuff.
BC, they grow fruit. They grow all kinds of greens out
We have a
there.
lot of wineries.
Wineries, right? These are things that Canada produces, right? So these are things that we trade. Now, we might make an agreement with America and say, hey, we'll produce some dairy for you and you guys sell us something that you produce, right? Actually, one thing that's kind of interesting is in Canada, we don't have a lot of oil refineries, which is really bizarre for a country that has some of the biggest supplies of oil available. So we take our oil, like it's in a, what do they call it? Up in the oil sands, they really don't like people digging in the oil sands, but we take our raw oil, which can't be put into a car. Did you kids know that? Like you can't just take oil out of the ground and put it into your car, right? Unless you want to destroy your engine, right? We take that oil, we send it down to Texas, right? That's why they wanted to build a pipeline, to do that more efficiently. We send it down to Texas or other parts of America. They refine it, and then we buy refined oil back from America, right? Even though we dig it up here, right? And so, you know, we can make different trade agreements, right? How might valuable resources benefit a country? Right, so what could be considered a valuable resource? What's something that has a lot of value?
Iron, steel.
Iron, steel, different minerals,
Fossil
fossil fuels.
oil.
That's fossil fuels.
Oh, well. Okay.
Food, being able to grow food. Not every country around the world, not every continent around the world can they grow food. They don't have as much tillable land, that's what it's called, right? Like fertile land where you can grow food. I don't know which of you said food. Okay, right? So in Canada, we're very fortunate. A lot of our land we can actually grow food on, right? Like most of Russia, you can't grow food in Russia. There's all this permafrost, it's frozen, right? Same like you can't grow food in the Inuit regions. That's why they were hunter-gatherers, right? That's why they hunted seals and whatnot. Okay, what are some other valuable resources? Something that Canada might have.
Wood.
Lumber, as we already mentioned. Gold, right? We have a lot of gold,
Silver.
right? Precious metals.
Uranium. Diamonds.
I don't think we really dig much uranium here.
We need,
Okay, last one. Wool, cotton, that kind of stuff. So how do these benefit Canada? How does this benefit us? Increased trade. It helps us to have a stronger economy,
build
right?
everything.
Have more money.
Would it make you more like popular in the country? Like,
Oh, yeah,
everyone
'cause you have a lot of
has their own
resources.
thing?
Definitely, right? Think about it. Think about it this way as well. If you're on a team and you're a highly productive, hardworking player, do you think that that person has a lot of options of where to go?
Yeah.
Right? Think about it like you've all done group projects, right? Like, what if you're the person who always does the work? Somebody's always latching on you like a leech, right? You can't relate. Okay, so if you have a lot to provide, then you have a lot of friends, right? A lot of countries want to trade with you, which is a positive for the people in the country, assuming the country likes trading and being wealthy.
The more resources, you could like build more houses and buildings and better ones, and more technology.
You have more access to building things. Maybe you can take that money that you earn and invest into technological advancements. How would those same resources harm a country, right? So think back to our
Greed.
historical globalization unit. How are some countries harmed by having valuable resources?
It might be greedy or invaded.
They might get invaded. It's pretty standard mode of operation. If somebody has something you want, some people will just go and take it. Okay? That's basically your historical globalization unit, right? All these countries had things that other people wanted, and they sorted it out sometimes through violence and conquest, sometimes through trade and agreements. Yes, you may. Just leave the door open. Okay. How else might a country be harmed by having lots of valuable resources? Do you kids?
What if we run out? They keep asking.
Hey, what if we run out?
Like what? Because the demand might get really high for it, and then they're crying because they want to buy it and steal it.
Hopefully we learn to innovate, right? But yeah, that could be a challenge with certain minerals and resources that are a little bit more finite, right? Like trees are a renewable resource. You can grow more trees. You can plant more trees. You can grow them as a crop. There are some fine minerals, particularly like the ones used in batteries, like in the Teslas, that are very finite, that are hard to get a hold of, and so, you know, hopefully we innovate out of that, right? One concept here. Do you kids know what corruption is?
Yeah, like.
Can someone explain to me? You very confidently said yes. No. Why are you shaking your head no now?
I know what it is, but I can't like.
Have you experienced an example of corruption?
I don't know.
No. Why would you say that? Why would you say that in English?
What?
Now you're denying it. Over here.
Like,
Wait, what?
like the government is corrupt. Like they'll be doing bad things.
Okay, so government corruption, right?
Like they're like making bad trades or doing illegal things behind people's backs.
So,
Stealing.
so sometimes having a valuable resource means that some people will come in and maybe they're a little bit more malicious or psychopathic. You're laughing, but it's true. And they'll take advantage of people and they'll benefit themselves, right? And instead of the country benefiting from having a valuable resource, a handful of people benefit, right? And that's part of the challenge of having valuable resources, right?
And there might be putting like the taxpayer dollars to other things,
like their own bank account.
Yeah, and like
that's called embezzling, right? You take money, public funds, and put them into your own bank. I'm pretty sure that's embezzlement. Okay. So adding on to that, just because you have valuable resources, is that going to make your country rich?
No.
What else is required, right? Like
People.
Good relationships with other countries.
good relationships with other countries. Yeah, right. Sure you were.
Good workplaces.
You know, good workplaces. So what that means is like effectively organized workplaces, right? Like when your parents go to work, you know, they have a job to do, right? And they kind of have an understanding of what they're supposed to do every day, right?
Like it's peaceful inside your own country.
Peaceful time, peace. Peace is very necessary for economic growth.
No crime.
Like think about countries that are war torn, right? Like Syria, for example. Very, very tragic what's going on there. Afghanistan. In these countries, there's not a lot of peace. There's not a lot of security. And so it's very difficult for people to, you know, invest in the future when literally a bomb could be dropped over your neighborhood and you could die, right? Or your country's in conflict. So do you think, like Russia and Ukraine, it must be really bizarre for some people to just have to go to work while there's a war going on, right? And many people would have gotten drafted into the war. And so if you're in a state of war or conflict, it can be hard to, you know, produce things, particularly and specifically if the war is taking place like on your doorstep. Because in other instances, war is very profitable, right? So during World War I and II, before America got involved, and they didn't really get involved in World War One, but World War Two. America was producing a lot of the ammunition, a lot of the guns. They're producing a lot of things and selling them over to Europe. That's how America became a superpower, because during World War I and II, when they took a step back, they simply said, well, we'll sell you what you need and you can pay us back later. And that's how they gained a lot of wealth, influence, and power afterwards, because a lot of Europe was indebted to them. So it's a tricky balance, right? And so how the Great Depression part of that got caused was that while Europe was war-torn and destroyed, they couldn't produce anything. You know, they were busy killing each other. But after the war was done, a couple of years after, they were able to bring their economic markets, their production back up to normal levels. And then all of a sudden you had all these other countries that had very high levels. You just had too much surplus. That's one of the reasons why the Great Depression was caused, right? So peace is very necessary. You had your hand up earlier as well. Yeah.
I was gonna say marketing and like popularity of the country.
Sure, marketing, right? Just because you have something in the ground doesn't mean everyone else knows it's there. Last one.
Like good social services, like military, hospital, police.
So social services or infrastructure, right? So again, if you have corruption in your country and you can't trust your workplace, like why would you go to work? You know, if you don't know for sure you're gonna get paid, would you do 8 hours of work? Probably not, right? But many people in many countries don't have an option, right? So they might show up and be told, hey, we'll pay you this much money for a day's labor. You come back later that day, well, you're gonna get this much. Take it or leave it. And so coming back to our point